Hey friends, welcome back to the Live Legacy Now podcast. And I'm so glad that you're here. Today, I am joined by my business partner, my friend, my mentor, and just a leader in the mortgage industry here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is where we're located, Chuck Wilson. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
So today, we're going to answer the question, how much home can I afford? A lot of people might ask that, whether you're a first-time home buyer or whether you've bought 6 homes. You still need to know, how much can I afford?
Yes.
Tell us how the home buying process usually goes for you. Just how does it start?
Sure.
Let's start there.
Well, by far and away, the most important part of the process is for someone who is interested in buying a home to get in touch with me so we can get all the facts on the table. That's so important. So I will ask for an application to be completed. That gives me the information now that I can start looking at all of the options that are available after they have told me specifically what their buying objectives are. That's the most important thing. I need to meet those objectives.
Okay, and usually the way that it starts is you might be driving around. Well, let me just say how it started for me. I was 20 years old, driving after church on a Sunday, and we see a sign that says open house. And so I'm like, my mom, Chuck is good friends, knows my family, and my mom, whenever I was young, Sundays after church, she would take me to open houses. And so I see this open house sign, I'm 20, and I go and I walk in the open house and I love it. And so the agent in the house, now, at that point, I know nothing about real estate. I was just getting my degree. Tells me that it was $63,500. And I said, well, I don't have $63,000, And she said, well, call this lady. She'll help you get approved. And that's exactly how it goes with Chuck and I. 99% of the time, they find me first, and then you refer them to you, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And a lot of times when buyers are just sitting at home thinking about, I wonder how much home I can afford, a lot of times the place I start is, how much are you currently paying? Whether it's for your mortgage or for rent. Because we are in the business of helping people achieve their real estate goals in a comfortable manner. So even if you can spend, let's say, $3,000 a month on your paperwork says that, if you're only comfortable paying $2,000 a month,
right,
that's the home we're going to put you in.
That's correct.
Or not put you in, but help you find,
sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so talk to them a little bit about that process. Like how can someone sitting at home on their couch listening to this podcast or on a run, how can they work backwards to see just in their mind, okay, I pay $2,000 a month. How big of a house does that equal?
That's a great question. So the most important part of this is, first of all, what type of employer are you? Or employee are you? So if you are a W-2 employee, then that really makes the process of calculating what your payment should be easier.
Right.
So, and you can spend up to 50%, in some cases, up to 50% of your gross monthly income from all sources for a house payment. But like Jen said, that may not fit your budget. So we've got to look at both sides of this. And then sometimes people will make adjustments to what they're willing to spend based on the home that they really want. So that's the very first place that we start.
I love that. And that's exactly what we do at the open house is, okay, you make $4,000 a month. That means your payment could be about $2,000 a month.
Right.
And for $2,000 a month, you can buy a house that is about $230,000.
Correct.
So those are the simple numbers. So if you're thinking about it in your mind right now and you're like, okay, is this worth going to the next step? Then those are the numbers that you can play with.
That's correct.
And so then whenever we get a pre-approval letter, tell our viewers kind of what is the difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval.
Okay.
Because there is, and I honestly didn't really understand this until, a lot of times present opportunity. We learn from them, right?
Correct.
And so let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. When I get that information from you that you provided through the application, then I'm now doing a pre-qualification, which means I'm using the information that you provided to me to be able to determine if you can qualify for that level of home. After we do the pre-qualification, then I ask you for more information that confirms that pre-qualification, which then becomes the pre-approval. Then comes the pre-approval letter that I then share with Jen, and then she takes you on the fun part of the process.
Okay, and let's talk about how fun it is. It is a lot more fun if you start by getting your pre-approval first versus finding the home first. And unfortunately, most people find the home first and then they fall in love and then they're freaking out. And then they're like, I have to get approved for this house. And a lot of times then it doesn't work out.
Correct.
Sometimes it does.
Correct.
But then whenever let's say you've fallen in love with a $300,000 house, but you can only get approved for $150,000,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be really hard to trim your love down to your price range.
I agree.
So we definitely want to encourage people, start with the pre-approval and then start driving around or swiping on Zillow or however you like to look for homes. They do say 99% of home searches start online.
Yes.
And so they find the house, they screenshot the Zillow thing to me and they're like, Jen, let's go see this. And early in my career, 24 years ago, I would just pop right up and go show it to them. And I will say this, now I will show a person one house before I have them get pre-approved. What about that person that says, I don't want you pulling my credit a bunch of times?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because that's something that I hear a lot is, if you pull my credit, it's going to make my score go down. And let's kind of dispel that myth.
I will. Two things are important about this issue. First of all, the mortgage pull, as we call it, has much less impact on credit scores than would, like if you're buying a new car or something like that. Also, the mortgage information, as long as you're not doing multiple pulls within the last 120 days, then again, the impact is minimal. But I'm always very careful with that. So if someone tells me, I don't want you pulling my credit right now because I think it's going to affect my score, then I go deeper and I ask them, well, what do you think your score is? What kind of monthly payments am I going to see when I once do pull your credit report? And then I work through that to get to some calculations that will help you with your home. But that is typically should not be an impediment to moving forward and doing a full application for a mortgage.
Okay, and another thing that we always hear, a question you might be asking yourself, how much money do I need to buy a house? What does the down payment look like? What are my closing costs going to be like? Because a lot of people don't have $20,000 saved up. And so they might have this misconception that that's how much they're going to need. So let's tell them about Ashley. We won't say her last name.
Okay.
So so let's just tell them about Ashley and how everything played out with her briefly.
When Ashley came to me, one of the things, of course, I find out is what kind of funds are available for closing. And she did have the funds to cover her down payment and her closing costs. However, it was going to take almost all of that money if we were going to go the traditional route of getting a mortgage for her. So I introduced her to the first-time home buyer programs that we have, where we can get 3.5% of the purchase price as down payment assistance, as it's called. And then Jen did an incredible job of working with the seller to get the seller to cover almost all of her closing costs. As a matter of fact, Jen, when we went to closing, she got a check back at closing for the earnest money that she had paid because everything had been covered, and she was able to keep that money back in reserves, which is a very, very important part of the process.
So to answer the question, how much money do you need? It could be $1,000 and you would need that for your earnest money, but you might get that back. Or, it just all depends. So that's why it's so important to talk to us about that as well.
Yes.
Okay, let's think about one more question that people might be asking. What about the cost between, not just the cost for the mortgage, but the cost between when they go into contract? Maybe for their home inspections. Maybe they need a home warranty for the house. Maybe they don't even know what I'm talking about. There are other costs that go into purchasing a home that aren't always tied to the mortgage.
Yes.
So let's just, the average price of a home right now in Tulsa is $271,000. So for our listener, let's tell them approximately what would be the minimum they would need to put down, and what would their payment look like on that, and are there costs in the middle that they need to be accounting for? Okay,
so I'll be real general here.
Perfect.
But of course, as we've discussed just a moment ago, the down payment is going to vary according to what you qualify for.
Okay.
And then what you're willing to invest in the transaction.
So it could be as little as 3%, and then but is on your traditional loan programs, is 3% the minimum down payment right now?
On a conventional loan for a first-time home buyer, you can get in that home for 3%.
Okay.
That is correct. 3.5% if it's an FHA type loan.
Okay, so on a $200,000 house for easy numbers,
$6,000,
$6,000,
$7,500, depending on whether you go conventional or FHA.
Okay, perfect.
Jen, I do want to discuss one more thing because it comes up quite frequently when I get an application. And that is, a lot of folks do not want to come forward and even see where they stand because they're concerned about their credit. Maybe they know they don't have the best of credit. But here's another very important part of this process. When I look at a credit report, and yes, we don't have the scores and we've got some issues that are going to need to be taken care of, I can give you a road plan that will then allow you to move towards your goal as quickly as possible so you can qualify. So don't hesitate. Even if you have issues, there are typically answers to those issues, and that is one of the main situations that I address and that I'm happy to help with.
In fact, we have a company, Legacy Realty Advisors and Legacy Leasing Solutions. So right now I have about 49 tenants that I work with, and we have a lot of those tenants on action plans. Chuck met with a couple last week, and they're renting one of our properties, and he's got them on a specific roadmap to get their credit cleaned up so they'll be ready to purchase when their lease is up. So it's really a great partnership. It's a great thing whenever you have a plan. I think that's the thing.
Great. And as a matter of fact, this is real timely because one of our clients who had scores below 600 followed the directions that we laid out for that score. Now that score is up to 680. And Jen doesn't even know this, but I'm getting ready to issue the pre-approval letter for this client so that they can go start looking for their first home.
Okay, so Chuck, at the end of every episode, just because we like to wrap things up with a bow, we give them 3 things. We recap 3 things our listeners learned, 2 things that they're going to implement, and 1 thing they're going to share.
Okay.
So I'll do the first one.
All right.
So the first thing that hopefully you guys learned today is that we're here to help you. And we want to help you achieve your goals and create a roadmap to achieve your goals. So that's hopefully one thing that they learned. They don't have to be worried about their credit score. We're not here to judge. We're here to help.
That's exactly right.
All right. What's another thing that they
Second
learned?
thing is that this is a process that if you are even thinking about buying a home, maybe you're thinking a year from now, but to make that first step, to see not only can you qualify today for the future, but where you need to go to get there. That's important.
Okay. And number 3, I think one thing that we would like them to remember is what you're currently paying could be a good baseline for you to think about what you might want to get approved for. And think about eliminating debt, because there is something we didn't get into today, but it's called the debt to income ratio. So the amount of debt you have versus what you make depends on what you can get approved for.
Right.
So maybe they could take small steps like making coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks and making that debt to income ratio a reality, because you can achieve that by doing all the small things.
Yes.
Okay, 2 things they're going to share. You're going to share this YouTube channel because we want to multiply our reach. So as we add value to you and you share it, we can multiply value to others.
Sure.
Another thing that they could share is,
I think you need to share your information with us. Let us know what your objectives are, what you want to accomplish, and let us work together to help you.
very good. And then one thing that you're going to do is you're going to go and live your legacy right now, because your legacy is not something that you leave behind, something that you create in the day-to-day decisions, like making your coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks and little things like that. So thank you so much for your time. Chuck, thank you so much for being here with me today.
You're welcome.
You guys, if you didn't feel it, if you weren't watching this, you were just listening, Chuck is someone that you can trust to walk beside you and help you achieve your goals. So I didn't mean to get back into that, but thank you for being here.
You're very welcome.
And I hope that you guys all have a great day. I can't wait to see you back here next time and go and live your legacy right now. Hey guys, thank you so much for your time today. If you got value out of what we talked about, please share this with someone that you want to start living their life with purpose, on purpose. And remember, you are living your legacy right now, and I cannot wait to see you again next time.